Rodney Wayne. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Nice to meet you, Joe.
Really appreciate it. Oompher is all about inspiring people to achieve extraordinary things. How and what during your life and career has inspired you?
Well, I suppose the very first was more than 40 years ago, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale that wrote the book The Power of Positive Thinking. I was fortunate enough to be invited to the Melbourne Town Hall to a meeting conference with him, and it was unbelievable. And he talked about the art of communication. Even if you're going to be a top sports person, you have to be able to sell yourself and your story. And he inspired me a lot to think about how I need to do things in life.
Okay, so has that mentoring aspect always been quite important to you in terms of having inspirations and people to look up to? Or?
I think so, and I often say that I educated myself more when I left school than when I was there, because once I did start, I went to every training seminar that was available for me to go to.
So you're working as a butcher's apprentice before making the change to studying hairdressing in Melbourne. So why the change? What inspired you to do that?
It was more than just a butcher's apprentice, Jake. I went right through and became a qualified butcher, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
The change was things changed a lot in that industry, but I was very excited and excited about fashion. I was very good at sketching and drawing. I actually thought I'd probably get into men's design or something like that, and the opportunity and talked about hairdressing, and it happened. I went that way.
And did you see it as a good industry to start a business in as well? Was that something you considered when going into it?
Yeah, sure. Well, my then wife, she had owned a hair salon, so I had a bit of an insight as to what it was all about, and I could see a great opportunity to go into that. But in the same, I looked at restaurants and food and fast food. I just knew that I would do something in business for myself.
Okay. And why do you think you wanted to do something in business? Was it because you enjoyed the freedom and being able to create your own thing?
No, it was because I saw my mum and dad, who worked extremely hard. My mother, I think, would have gone into business, but Dad was never keen to do so. But he was a logger for Bagents and Nelson, and worked very, very hard. And then by night and weekends, they grew strawberries, and just worked very, very hard. And I thought, boy, the amount of hours of work they'd put in, if they'd done more of that for themselves, I think they would have been a lot better off. In saying that, they still had a very good life. We lived in a beautiful home, and it was all good. But it drove me, I think, to want to do it for myself.
Okay. And when people are starting businesses, do you think it's really important that they are really passionate about the industry that they're going into? Or is it about working where you want to go?
It's all about passion and the vision for what that will be like at the end. I think you have to have the vision as to, this is what this shop's going to look like, this is the style of business it's going to be, this is how we want to look after customers. You have to have that vision before you can get the passion to go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Okay. And today as an entrepreneur, Rodney, what drives you and what keeps you going?
I don't know, but I think all business does. I love reading about business. I love looking at businesses that succeed. I'm passionate about the service industry. I love going to a good restaurant, and what determines that for me is how well they look after me. And it's the same in any business I go to. I'm fascinated by getting good service, and to me that's what makes good business, whether I'm going to a hospital, a pharmacy, or to a fine dine restaurant. And so it gives me that same passion to ensure that that's happening within my own business.
Yeah.
Like many people say to me, if you franchise, you're going to lose standards and quality. I learned from Jean-Louis David, a French hairdresser who had 1,000 hairdressing salons when I met him, that didn't have to be the case. That you could have a vision and write a manual and a program for what that business should look like and feel like, and live by every day, endorsing and making sure that that's going to happen. And I've surrounded myself with some very good people. We've appointed a CEO now, who you just met, Julie, and she has a team of people, and they're out there just ensuring that those standards are going to carry on happening every day.
Yeah, it's interesting you did bring up the franchising, because that's something I was going to talk about. Is a lot of people who we've talked to have very, very successful businesses, but are worried about franchising because of that reason. So is it all about having the process in place and good leadership through the different levels of management so that can be enforced?
It's all of that.
Yeah.
And you have to have, again, the vision of what it is you want this business to look like and feel like, and then you have to be able to articulate that, but you also have to be able to put it on a piece of paper. Now, that doesn't mean we want to clone people and not let them be themselves, but there's certainly some things within the business that have to work and operate as per the formula and the prescribed formula that we've put together.
Okay, and is it also about ensuring that the business owners are as passionate almost as you are in terms of the business, so they really feel and drive and almost treat it as if they own the whole brand as such, so they're really always...
Well, every franchisee is an entrepreneur in their own right.
Yeah.
They've saved their money to go and buy a business, so they want to succeed. And when somebody does that, most times they want to add a little bit of themselves into it. And we actually encourage that. We we try to discourage changing the formula and the things are all dead right. And so sometimes that is a challenge for us, and we just keep working at that. But again, the best thing is to have good ears, to be listening and looking at what they're doing, and sitting and working and talking with people. That's why I said right at the outset, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale said to me, it doesn't matter whether you want to be a top sportsman, whatever you're going to do in life, this is 2 decades ago, leaders need to be learning to be better at communicating. That doesn't mean you need to be learning to be a better speaker necessarily. Sometimes it means you need to be learning to be a better listener. The success of the Rodney Wayne business, as I could see many years ago, hairdressers were putting hairstyles on people that the customer didn't even want that look. And I learnt that listening by doing a consultation was probably the most important thing that I could do for a customer that's walked in the door to have their hair done with me. Find out what their wishes were, find out really what it was they were wanting, and then come up with that. You do that and you've got a happy customer forever.
So that communication aspect is just vital in all business, really.
All business.
Okay. And what do you look for in a new franchise owner today? Is it about leadership as well?
It's all people, I don't know exactly the percentage now, but it'll be 70-80% of our people are non-hairdressers that own the salons. You don't have to be a hairdresser. Sure, you have to learn about the industry, but it's more sitting down on them, one-on-one with your people, patting them on the back, congratulating them when they've done something right, and if they've done something wrong, pointing them in the right direction. How do you improve that? So our successful owners are ones who have a great rapport with people, with staff, which is a huge part of our business, as well as with customers. And that's why the other thing that's worked just so well in my business that I identified way back when I had 10 or 12 shops and they were all company-owned stores, all of the front people I chose to hire non-hairdressers to run the front because I identified them as being like a hostess or a maitre d' in a good restaurant. The chef doesn't come out and tell people where to sit in the restaurant. The chef's job's to cook the best lunch he can do for you. It's the maitre d' or the hostess that makes you feel comfortable. So I set up the same system in a salon. You would be greeted by somebody who is passionate about looking after you. And a lot of those people become owners of the Rodney Wayne salon.
Okay, and you've said before that Rodney Wayne as a company took quality hairdressing outside of the CBD for the first time, and that was something quite new and quite different. Is it important in business to innovation, do new things? Yeah,
and that's getting harder every day because there's a whole lot of other people out there trying just as hard to do it. But I did that in Australia. When I started in Australia, everybody from country Victoria would drive to Melbourne to have their hair done. I realised if I could take to the rural areas and take a first-class looking salon with hairdressers trained, we would stop those people driving to the city. When I came to Auckland, I had exactly the same. Everybody was driving into central city to have their hair done. None of the suburbs had what you'd call good, fashionable, quality hairdressing salons. And I knew that once I built the brand, I could then take, if you like, city chic to the suburbs.
Okay. So now I've just got a few sort of quick fire questions to finish. So with the Rodney Wayne Group, what are you most proud of what aspect of it are you most proud of?
Did I see you?
Yeah.
and it's still here.
Yeah.
When you
Still
look at
going
the
strong
number of
today.
businesses that fail, that just don't make it across the line, and then to keep something like my brand here I've been hairdressing well over 40 years. We've been going over 30 years here. We keep refreshing the brand. Keep it up there, keep it out in front, and naturally I'm very, very proud of that. But I don't do all that myself. Again, you've got to surround yourself with good people and trust them, and give them the leash to let them get out and go and do it, and you've got to be open and aware for new and exciting things. Like if I kept doing what I did way back when I first went to Vidal Sassoons, if I kept doing that now, we'd be gone. Things have changed, so change. You've just got to be awake and open and alive and acceptance of change. Like this whole new media thing is, this computer age, that whole thing, it's so new, so different to me. So other people have to take care of that, and I just see it's a big part of business.
Yeah. And as a youngster, you worked really, really hard. Do you think young people today are sort of getting things handed to them on the plate a bit too much? Has it become a bit too easy, or?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that. I did work hard. I worked in the orchards making apple case. I had paper run, but there's still a lot of kids do that now.
Yeah.
But yes, I think there is a perception, even from some mums and dads. They shouldn't have to work for that small wage. That's what do you call it? Scab labour, paying a youth that wage. I think it's a stupid attitude. If you can earn a couple of dollars to go and do something, why not do it? And it teaches a work ethic.
Yeah. Absolutely. And looking back over your career, what would be the sort of top 3 bits of business advice you'd pass on in terms of what you've learned? What would you summarise everything down to as?
Selecting the right people, which we talked about. First, it is the vision of what it is you're going to do, and some people just don't quite get that. It's looking at what it will be like when you've got it done. And what will it feel like? What will it smell like? Can I touch it? What would be the experience? You've got to have that. And then there's a passion to go ahead and do it. And then it's training to do it. Nobody can just walk in and do it. Nobody. So the training never ever stops. It's why we have our own training studio here. We train in hair cutting and hairdressing, but it's also in the other skills of greeting, meeting, greeting, the consultation. Consultation is one of the most difficult things in any business to get right. We have some great experiences with the doctor, and we have some shockers. It's not the way he put his needle in the arm with the injection, it was the communication and how he had that consultation with you. So it's a huge part of any business today.
Okay. So Rodney, what would the 16-year-old boy you were think of the man you've become? Would he recognise you today?
Yeah, boy, that's an interesting one. I think he'd be pretty proud and happy if I was his dad. Yes, I think so. But you never know when you're 16 what's going to pan out in life. And things change. That's the other thing. Some of the things that I might have thought I want when I was 16, I probably wouldn't even want now.
Yeah. Okay. And to finish, Rodney, what are your wise words for the people of New Zealand?
That we live in paradise, enjoy every bit of it, don't knock it, love it, see the country before you leave, all of those things. And of course, to achieve any of that, it is work, it's hard work, but I've learned that most people that are prepared to work hard are the happiest people I've met.
Rodney Wayne, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Luke.
Cheers.
Nice meeting you.